So we can talk about the series between Zalgiris and Fenerbahce. It ended 3-1 for Fener, and they will face Olympiacos in the Final Four. This was a really entertaining series between two teams similarly coached, but I'll let you briefly introduce the series.
Yes, I told in the predictions that Zalgiris would have won this series in 3-2 or even 3-1. Obviously, that did not happen. Fenerbahce proved to be a longer, tougher, and stronger team than Zalgiris. Even though the result, which is just one win for the Zalgiris, is not the distance between the two teams. Also because in game 2, Zalgiris was a little bit closer to the win than the result, and even though in game 1 there was no debate, game 3 proved that Zalgiris could win if they tried to slow down the game of Fenerbahce, and in game 4 there was just some little possessions that were in favor of Fenerbahce that resulted into their win. So basically, this was a much more equilibrated series than it was in the results. And according to me, there were many things that Masiulis adjusted between game 2 and game 3 that ended in shortened the rotation. Basically, many players that were used by him were not seen in game 3, such as Giedraitis and also Prestekis, and also Birutis have seen his minutes reduced, while many of the other players, such as obviously Sylvain Francisco, which played like one of the best players in the league, but also Moses Bright and Nithel William Goffs, and especially Aduolas Tiberius proved to be playoff players for the next season. I wasn't amazed by the Maudolo in this series because he has to improve a little bit the pace and scoring from the bench. But he didn't seem to be at the level of the Fenerbahce bench. At the same time, that chart were a little bit short for Zalgiris. On the other side, Jasikevicius seems to have found a little bit of connection between the players, and he reduced also the minutes on the court for Brendan Boston, for example, and Armando Beko. And he seems to have found the real chemistry between the players in the right moment of the season.
You mentioned the short-handed rotation by Zalgiris, and I want to highlight how Fenerbahce dominated the bench battle. As you said, Zalgiris doesn't have a deep roster. They rely a lot on 3 non-Lithuanian players like Moses Wright, Sylvain Francisco, and Nigel Williams-Goss, while all the other players, except for Maudolo, who, as you said, didn't play a particularly positive series, all the other ones are Lithuanian, while Fenerbahce can have off-the-bench players like Wade Baldwin, Bonzi Colson, Nando Di Colo, and similar. So if we also look at the statistics, if you calculate the bench points, Fener wins this series 132 to 78, which is a 54-point difference in 4 games, and that's a lot. But also, if we calculate how many of the team points were scored by the benches, Fenerbahce had 38% of their points scored by their bench, while it was only 24% for Zalgiris. And it doesn't sound like a big difference, but trust me, it is. And you also mentioned the adjustments that Zalgiris had to do after especially game 2, because the first 2 games were dominated by Fenerbahce, and the home court advantage obviously played a key factor in the series. But there are also some tactical moves that shifted the energy more towards the Žalgiris side, like how these teams exploited the mismatches, since a lot of mismatches were created in the games, because these two teams obviously are similarly coached by two coaches that worked together for a long time, and they both love to switch a lot. You mentioned how Tubelis was crucial for this series, and I think that Tubelis in this series defensively kind of did what Nicolo Melli typically does for Fenerbahce, so playing the switching big man, and Tubelis obviously did a great job on both ends, but I especially liked the defensive side of it. And talking about switching, there were two philosophies of exploiting the mismatches. Fener decided to do that, posting up the small players with their bigs, and Žalgiris initially preferred to let their guards play in isolation, but it didn't work particularly well, and then they utilized the post-ups more, and that was, I think, a key adjustment for the series. I clearly remember a lot of plays, especially in the last two games, where Ulanovas was posting up smaller players. He was attracting the double team often brought by Birch, and then he passed the ball to Moses Wright, and he was able to execute some good floaters, and that was really something that gave some crucial points for Žalgiris, especially in tight matches as the last two were. And there are also other ways with which the coaches decided to punish the switching defenses. Masiulis utilized a lot of high Spain pick and rolls with Francisco or Williams Goss as the ball handlers,
especially on the side.
Exactly, with Moses Wright as the first screener, and Tubelis or Jasikevicius as the Spain picker, or alternatively, especially with Francisco as the ball handler, they would reject the screen to elude the switch, while Jasikevicius mainly chose the Varejao screens, especially obviously with Cambridge as the picker, but with Baldwin and DHT as the beneficiaries of this action. And one thing that I want to kind of introduce is the role of Cambridge in this series. I've heard a lot of praises for Birch, but in my opinion, they were something produced by the recency bias, since in the first games and in most of the series, he couldn't guard Moses Wright on the defensive end, especially on dynamic situations. He couldn't guard Zalgiris guards on the perimeter, and offensively I think that he's very limited. He's not that tall, he's not that athletic, he doesn't have particularly good hands. He played a great game 4, and that was very important for Fenerbahce, but let's not be victims of the recency bias. Let's also look at the statistics, and the statistics says that he has a total plus minus of -6 in the 4 games of this series, and he's probably the only Fenerbahce player with a negative plus minus. I overall think that Silva, Melli, and also Jantonen did a better job than him, but I'm very curious to see what do you think about this, because it's kind of controversial, we can say.
As you said before, the matchup between Adzolas, Tubelis and Nicolo Melli was won by the Lithuanian one, even though he's 10 years younger, and I think that it will be likely a star of the new Euroleague that will be starting next October. At the same time, as you said, Cambridge is just one of the negative plus minus of Fenerbahce. At the same time, I have to admit that he is the reason why the series was stopped in game 4. If it wasn't for him, that made very easy baskets and was a very good roller in the pick and rolls between him and also Wade Baldwin, which used like the snake pick and roll to have mid jumpers easily against Francisco and Moses Wright. as I said before, if it wasn't for him, we might now not discuss about Game 4, but we will be discussing about Game 5 in the next few days. So I think that also for playing against Olympiacos, it will be used maybe against Tyreek Jones, I think, in some ways, and also to disrupt in some way the physical but slow game of Nikola Milutinov.
Yes, and for the last part, I only wanted to highlight Francisco's role in this series, because we know that Fenerbahce usually plays without a true point guard, and they use someone like Horton Tucker, but also Wade Baldwin as the primary ball handlers, and that means for them having the possibility to attack Francisco, but also Giedraitis when he played some minutes, and Masiulis tried initially to hide them on players like Biberovic, like Devon Hall, Bonzik Olsson, but these are still mismatches, and the Turkish team exploited them, especially in the first games where Biberovic played great. And when Francisco had the possibility to attack, because maybe he forced a switch or whatever situation, the Fenerbahce defense sent initially soft helps, so stunting with the defenders near the play when he drove to the basket, and then when he reached the paint, sending strong help. So this way he could not take an easy shot this series. And I think that the only shots that they were realistically contested by only one person, so the better shot for Francisco, were the ones taken from 3 in pull-ups, which are not great shot quality wise. So there was a really great job done by the Fenerbahce's defense, and the fact that they were really physical, not only with the Francisco but also with every other players, that was probably the biggest strength of Fenerbahce, not only in this series but also in the regular season overall.
Yes, it is also a bit unlucky that many of the players that were stars with Zalgiris will be leaving at the end of the season, and especially I have to say Francisco and Moses Wright, and that's a rumor to be signed by Barcelona or Dubai, depends on the days. But they are not staying, I think, in Kaunas, and I don't know. We will see some other underdog players. They might have to sign. They just renewed the contract of Maduro, and I don't know, maybe some steps forward from the other guys from the Lithuanian core that should be expected.